ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वंदे गुरुपरंपरां। सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। ब्रह्मसूत्रास् चैप्टर 2 पाद 3 वियदधिकरणं न वियदश्रुतेः अस्तितु गौण्यसंभवात् शब्दाच्च स्याच्चैकस्य ब्रह्मशब्दवत् प्रतिज्ञा अहानिः अव्यतिरेकात् शब्देभ्यः यावत् विकारं तु विकारो लोकवत्। मातरिष्वाधिकरणम् एतेन मातरिष्वाव्याख्यातः असंभवाधिकरणम् असंभवस्तु सतः अनुपपत्तेः तेजोधिकरणम् तेजोतः तथा ह्यः अबधिकरणम् आपः पृथिव्यधिकरणम् पृथिवी अधिकार रूप शब्दांतरेभ्यः तत् अभिध्यानाधिकरणम् तत् अभिध्यानादेवतु तल्लिंगात् सह विपर्याधिकरणम् विपर्ययेण तु क्रमः अतः उपपद्यते। अंतराविज्ञानाधिकरणम् अंतराविज्ञानमनसि क्रमेण तल्लिंगादिति चेत् न विशेषात्। चराचर व्यपाश्रय अधिकरणं चराचर व्यपाश्रयस्तु स्यात् तदव्यपदेशः वाक्तः तद्भावभावित्वात्। आत्माधिकरणं नात्माश्रुतेः नित्यत्वाद् च ताभ्यः। ज्ञाधिकरणं ज्ञोत एव उत्क्रान्तिगत्यधिकरणम् उत्क्रान्तिगत्यागदीनां स्वात्मना चोत्तरयोः न अणुः अतः श्रुतेः इति चेत् न इतर अधिकारात् स्वशब्दोन्मानाभ्याञ्च अविरोधश्चन्दनवत् अवस्थितिं वैशेषादिति चेत् न अद्युपगमाद् धृतिः। गुणाद्वालोकवत् व्यतिरेको गन्धवत् तथा च दर्शयति। पृथक् उपदेशात् तद्गुणसारत्वात् तु तद्व्यपदेशप्राज्ञवत्। उत्क्रान्तिगत्यधिकरणं यावत् आत्मभावित्वात् च न दोषः तद्दर्शनात्। This is the sutra we have been seeing, 30th sutra of the 13th adhikaranam of this pada. And an additional reason is given in support of the previous sutra that we saw in the last class. Tad gunasarattvatu tad vyapadesha prajnavat. Let us do the general analysis of this sutra. I, the Atma Chaitanyam, am already free of all problems, and all my problems are due to my proximity with Buddhi and because of my wrong association with Buddhi. Buddhi Sambandha is the cause of the problem, and Buddhi's problems are transferred to Atma. We saw all this in the last class. If it is wrong association, such association should end one day. So any association should end one day on the basis of the norm. Everything that arrives has to go and everything produced is destroyed. This is the norm. Thus, Buddhi has to die one day. Our association with Buddhi should end one day. Therefore, if it is a samyoga dosha, moksha will be natural and no need to do any sadhana because it will go away. Buddhi will go away. So one day or the other, we will all become muktaha. This is Purva Paksha's argument. So resolution of Buddhi is also mentioned in the Shastras. In sleep and in pralaya, Buddhi resolves. Buddhi Sambandha naturally ends. Buddhi Sambandha means associationship with Buddhi. So during sleep, Buddhi merges with Atma. In pralaya, everything gets resolved and Buddhi Sambandha also will be resolved. Thus, all we get, all people will get moksha. And why should we bother about it at all? Why you go to all this jnana marga, this, that, and all? Everybody will automatically get moksha. So Buddhi Sambandha is not a physical event, but it is caused by ignorance. It is Ajnana Janyaha. Atma cannot have samyoga or association with anything. Atma is asangaha. And Atma has the higher order of reality. We have seen all those things in great detail. Buddhi is Vyavaharika Satyam. And Atma is Paramarthika Satyam. For example, a dream girl cannot get married with a Jagrat boy. Therefore, the very Jivatmatvam is because it is ignorance based. Jivatmatvam is because it is ignorance based, Ajnana Avastha, and it is not because of physical association. But the unfortunate problem is what? No ignorance will die naturally. Ignorance will not die naturally. Everything in creation will die naturally, but Ajnana or ignorance will never go away naturally, even if you go to sleep, even if you go to pralaya. Even if one dies, Ajnanam continues. Even in pralayam, Ajnanam continues. As long as ignorant Jivatma continues, Buddhi Sambandha will continue. There is Shruti Pramanam also and Yukti Pramanam also for this. And the Shruti Pramanam, we have seen this earlier also in the 4th chapter, 3rd section, 7th mantra, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Sa Samanaha Sannam Ubau Lokam Ubau Lokau Anusancharati. Sa Samanaha San Ubau Lokau Anusancharati. This person remaining the same wanders along the two worlds, seeming to think, seeming to move about and all that, all seemingly. Samanaha means Buddhya Sahitaha. Therefore, at the time of death, you may get detached with the physical body, but not from Sukshma Shariram. At the time of death, the Sukshma Shariram, Karna Shariram, blessed with Chaitanyam, all three of them leave the body, they travel. So long as Buddhi Sambandha is there, one continues to be there, and only Jnanam can liberate one finally. As long as Ajnanam is there, ignorance is there is no chance of gaining liberation, moksha. Neither the death nor pralaya will solve the problem and liberate a jiva. Now let us do the word analysis. The sutra is Yavat Atma Bhavitvacha Na Doshaha Taddarshanat. This is the 30th sutra, 246th running Brahma Sutra. Na Doshaha. There is no flaw in this view. Yavat Atma Bhavitvat. Since mental connection continues as long as the ignorant Jivatma continues, mental connection with Buddhi continues as long as the ignorant Jivatma continues. Tad Dashanatcha. And this is so because it is revealed in the scriptures. This is the running meaning. Now we have to see the significance of the words, because running meaning will not give the clarity. Yavat Atma Bhavitvat. Yavat means as long as ignorant Jivatma continues, or because of the continuation of the Buddhi Sambandha. The ignorant Jivatma, as long as he continues associating with the Buddhi, as long as ignorance continues, one cannot get rid of your mind. For a disturbed person, mind is the greatest burden. If people or house is a problem, you can get away, you can run away from them. But your own mind is the problem. You cannot run away from your mind at all. Even if one attempts to do suicide, that is not a solution to the problem of the mind. One cannot get away from mind. There is only one method which can free one's mind. That is, Jnanam alone can free the mind. By knowing that I am the higher order of reality and my mind is a lower order of reality. We have already talked about all this in great detail. So until I know the truth, I will suffer. No other way except realizing the truth through Jnana. There is no flaw in our view. Only through knowledge, Buddhi Sambandha can end. And there is no natural end for Buddhi Sambandha at all. It is to be ended by positive effort. Even if you avoid it in this Janma, in this birth, you have to work for it in the next Janma. If it is the next Janma, happens to be a human Janma. So Sukshma Shariram is not proved by science. What is all about Karana Shariram or Atma, even Sukshma Shariram cannot be proved by science. Scientists are yet to prove the existence of mind other than brain. We have only Shastra Pramanam for all these. Mind survives even after the brain is destroyed, and that alone is available in the other body. No one knows what produces the mind. Shastram is the Pramanam to show that my association with mind will continue even after the present mind is destroyed. Present mind in the present birth is destroyed. In the sense, the Sukshma Shariram continues to travel and get out of this physical body at the time of death. Let us go to the next sutra. Pumstva divate tvasya sataha abhivyakti yogat. 31st sutra, 247th running Brahma Sutra. A proof is now given in support of the previous sutra, Sutra 29, by showing the perpetual connection between the individual Atma and the intellect. So the word tu means but. That is used in order to set aside the objection raised above. Earlier, whatever objection was raised, to put aside that objection, the word tu is used here. And in this sutra, logical support is given to show the association of mind. It continues in sleep and at the time of pralaya also. Mind association is not destroyed. That is proved. Because at the time of waking up, all the problems come back. After a great sleep, when I wake up, problems again come back. During sleep, all the problems, they exist, but in unmanifest form, in dormant form. Non-experience is not non-existence of the problems. And it exists in dormant form or unmanifest form during sleep. And if this is so, then at the time of Maranam also, at the time of death also, the problem continues, although I do not know anything about it at the time of death. Even in Pralaya Kala, at the time of Pralayam also, the problems are in dormant form only. And that is proved by sleep experience. We use the sleep experience to prove that also in Pralaya Kala. And a proof is now given in support of Sutra 29 by showing the perpetual connection between the individual, this Atma, and the intellect. So the word tu, that is used in order to set aside the objection raised above. So Sutra 31 is continuity of Siddhanta regarding size of Jiva that started at Sutra 29, if you remember, whether it is Anu or Vibhu and all that thing. So one cardinal principle of Vedanta must be remembered all the time. And what is that? Whatever is intrinsically present can never be eliminated by any amount of effort. Even by the Lord, it cannot be eliminated, whatever is intrinsically present. This is a very, very important principle in Vedanta. And Gaudapada Acharya actually, he presents it in his Karika also. Therefore, Vedanta says, if samsara is the intrinsic nature of Jiva, there is no escape from samsara. If samsara is the intrinsic nature, the omnipotent can do only what can be done. It is not doing anything, and omnipotent means doing what can be done only it is. That potency is what? To do whatever can be done, not anything. If samsara is my intrinsic quality, it can never be eliminated even by the omnipotent Lord. All ascertain that Jiva is really samsari. If samsara is intrinsic dharma, only we can suppress that temporarily. The intrinsic dharma, we can only suppress temporarily. We cannot eliminate them. Even in pralaya, it cannot be permanently eliminated. And the word samsara refers to a set of problems, including the location to one place. Mortality is another form of samsara only. That is kala parichedaha, time principle, time wise. Even travel implies desha paricheda, space, spatial travel. Kartrutvam is another form of samsara. Kartrum is doership, is another form of samsara. Kartrutvam leads to bhoktrutvam, leading to samsara. So if moksha is a possibility under only one condition, that samsara should not be swabhavika dharma. It should not be an intrinsic dharma. It should be an incidental dharma or borrowed from somewhere else. So the samsara notion is not intrinsic. It is not swabhavika dharma. It is a borrowed dharma, incidental dharma, borrowed from somewhere else. Our very introduction to the student is to create optimism that you will be free from all problems of samsara right from beginning. That is what the teacher of Vedanta tells the student. You will have no problem whatsoever. Since samsara is temporary in nature or borrowed, because of wrong association, it can be eliminated. Samsara can be gotten rid of. Because of transference, buddhi is kala parichedaha, desha parichedaha. Buddhi is gamana, agamanam, arriving and going away. All those problems are transferred to me by buddhi sambandha, buddhi association. Buddhi samyoga is even the cause of limitation of jiva. And that is the reason why the jiva seems to be an anu or vibhu or madhyama parimana, all that we saw. That is its real nature. How can I dissociate from buddhi? Here also we face a problem. Atma cannot have buddhi samyoga at all. Why? Atma is asangoham, we have already seen that. Asangaha. And if Atma gets buddhi samyoga, buddhi viyoga also is not possible. Right? Because if buddhi viyoga is not, buddhi samyoga is not possible because Atma is asangaha, asanga swarupaha. Unfortunately, Atma is asangaha and it is incapable of sangaha. It cannot have sangha. So Vedantic untouchability, we can call it. Vedantic untouchability is a noble thing. First thing, samyoga is not possible. Suppose you accept samyoga. Samyoga is associationship. Between Atma and Buddhi, it can never be eliminated. If you accept samyoga between Atma and Buddhi, it can never be eliminated. Buddhi cannot go anywhere without Atma because Atma is sarvagataha. We should understand the reasons for all that. Atma is sarvagataha, all pervading. So where is a place where Atma is not there? So if Buddhi and Atma are associated, where Buddhi can go, where Atma is not there. Let's note, Atma is there everywhere. Therefore, how do we say Buddhi Samyoga is responsible for incidental samsara? And Buddhi Viyoga is separation. Buddhi Viyoga is the cause of samsara nivritti, elimination of samsara. Buddhi Samyoga and Buddhi Viyoga is not physical event because Atma is asangatvat and sarvagatatvat. Atma is asangaha, has no relationship, and sarvagatatvat is all pervading. Therefore, Samyoga and Viyoga cannot be physical events. Both should be intellectual events. And it is a Bhranti. If Samyoga is an event, if it is an event at the level of Buddhi, and Samyoga is Bhrantidaha. Bhrantidaha means notional. We can call it notional. And Viyoga is removal of that notion only. There is no physical removal. It is removal of that notion. I have relationship with Buddhi is Samyoga. That is the notion. And the removal of this notion is Viyoga. I have relationship with Buddhi is Samyoga. And removal of this notion is Viyoga. Notion has to be displaced by what? By knowledge alone. Nothing else can displace notion. So Vyasacharya says, as long as ignorance continues, ajnanam continues, Bhranti Samyoga, that is Samyoga notion will continue also. So long as the notion of relationship between buddhi and atma continues, samsara also will continue. So as long as ignorance is there, so long buddhi samyoga is there, samsara will continue, and even maranam is not the solution, because buddhi comes with us even after death. Sukshma Shariram, all the 17 elements that we have told. 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas, Panchapranadeha, Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Hankara, all those 19. They all come. So even Pralayam is not a solution. And even in Pralayam, Buddhi is there in the form of Karana Shariram. After in dormant form, in unmanifest form. And having given the scriptural support, Vyasacharya now gives the logical support also to this view. Samyoga is present as long as ignorance continues. That's what we said. And this is to be proved. And a doubt comes that in Sushupti, in deep sleep, we do not experience buddhi at all. We do not experience samsara in Sushupti. We are very happy in Sushupti, in deep sleep. We do not know whether the buddhi will go away at the time of death also. We don't know. We do not have any proof of the continuance of buddhi after death also. This is the question. And the question is reimposed by Shastric statement. Shastra says, in dreamless sleep, in deep sleep, buddhi or understanding remains in a potential condition. It is not absent. It is not non-existent. But it is there in a potential condition, in dormant condition, unmanifest condition, and it becomes active in the dream and waking states. And this is said in Chandogya Upanishad 6th chapter, 8th section, 1st mantra. We have seen this mantra earlier. Uddalakoha runihim shvetaketum putramu vacham swapnantam me somyam vijanihi Yatraitat Purushaha Swapiti Nama. At that time mentioned, he got a title, Swapiti, the one who is in the sleep avastha. Sata Somyam Tada Sampanno Bhavati Swamapito Bhavati Tasmad Yenagum Swapiti Itya Chakshate Swagum Kepito Bhavati. We have seen this mantra in great detail at the time when we did Chandogya. So, in the condition of deep sleep, personal consciousness subsides and the self is said to be absorbed in the highest self. Buddhi, all these relative words, highest, lowest, all those self, and all we have already seen, all those higher order of reality, lower order of reality, and all we have seen. Buddhi and everything is resolved in sleep. And how can you say Buddhi Samyoga continues in sleep is the question. And Vyasacharya says, in Sushupti, Maranam or Pralayam, Buddhi Samyoga is present. Non-experience of Buddhi should not be equated to non-existence of Buddhi. Non-experience can be due to an avyakta avastha also. And therefore, we claim that Buddhi is not destroyed, but Buddhi becomes dormant. That's what Siddhantin says. How do you know that it is dormant? It might be destroyed. Somebody may ask the question. Further, Vyasacharya says that it is in dormant condition that is known because during waking it comes back. Non-existent buddhi cannot come back, but dormant buddhi alone can come back when you wake up after sleep. All the problems also come back along with that. It is not only between sleep and waking, but also between even death and the new birth. Mothers give birth to physical body. Our mind continues. And that is why prodigies are born. It is not only Punarjanma, but also Punarsrishti also. So mothers give only to physical bodies. New minds are not created at the time of creation. All minds are in dormant form with all their vasanas and all. They are born again after a new generation, new Janma. This is the essence of this sutra. Now, an example is given by Vyasacharya here. When a child is born, it is not born as a mature adult. and maturity, that is physical maturity of the body, is lacking in the baby. But we know, even though they are lacking, they are potentially there. So when the appropriate age comes to the child, the physical body becomes mature body with dormant features becoming manifest. That is the reproductive power, putra utpadana shakti, which is not there in the baby. And when physical body matures, it comes to manifestation. So also the voice changes, the facial hair, the appearance changes, hair growth in the body, all those things, they come. They do not arrive afresh. They are in the genes of the baby, in the form of information. So what is non-existent cannot come. So when in the seed form, when it is dormant form, all the information pertaining to the child, they are all there in dormant condition. They only come to manifest as the child grows. So what is non-existent cannot come new. What is existent alone can manifest. This is the reassertion of Satkaryavada. I have already mentioned earlier, Asatkaryavada and Satkaryavada and all that. Now let us see the word analysis of this sutra. Pumstvadivat twasya sataham abhivyakti yogat. That is the sutra. So abhivyakti yogat. This is so because manifestation, vyakti, that is not possible. Satautu asya, only for a potentially existent one. Manifestation is possible only for a potentially existent one. Pumstvadivat, that is the example, as in the case of manhood. This is the running meaning. The child, as the child matures, the child gets the manhood. Pumstvadivat. Now we will see the significance of the words. Pumstvadivat means manhood. Procreative power is what is implied here, which is there in all human beings, but it does not manifest in birth itself, but it comes later, but manifests later. As the child grows. Adi means etc. Other physical features. In addition to this, all other physical features, as I mentioned a few. Tu means to negate the Asatkaryavada. Asatkaryavada means it did not exist. Satkaryavada means it existed in potential condition. That is non-existent cannot manifest. Whatever is non-existent, that is Asatkaryavada, that cannot manifest. If some quality is not there at the time of birth, it will not come when one gets old. Should be in dormant condition somewhere. Some information should be available in the genes. Asya means buddhi samyogasya. Buddhi samyoga should be there either in manifest or unmanifest form. Sataha, buddhi samyogasya. Sataha means potentially existent. Only potentially existent samyoga, associationship, can come at the time of recreation. We have no way to get rid of buddhi samyoga at all, except through one method, that is removal of ignorance and gaining knowledge, or at the time of mukti moksha. Abhivyakta yoga means manifestation. Yoga here means possibility. So because of the possibility of the manifestation of potentially existent alone, features alone. Therefore, this sutra is to prove what? Unless you remove ajnanam, ignorance, you cannot get rid of buddhi samyoga at all. And no other method will work. This is the emphatic statement by the sutra. This is supported by the Upanishad also, from the Chandogya Upanishad, 9th section, 3rd mantra. This also we have seen. Ta iha vyagro va, sigumho va, vruko va, varaho va, kito va, patango va, tagumsho va, mashako va, yadyad bhavanti, tadha bhavanti. All the jivas get merged into Atma at the time of Sushupti. And Buddhi is in potential form. And it is going to come back again. And the Upanishad makes a statement that whether it is a tiger, the tiger which enters Atma again comes out as what? Tiger only. Whether it is a mosquito or crow, it lists all of them. Vyagrova, Sigumhova, Prukova, Varahova, Kitova, Patangova, all of them. Mashakova, mosquitoes. So all of them, when enter into Atma, again they come out as the respective ones, whether it is a mosquito or crow. They are not newly born and they come to manifestation back again only. Let us go to the next sutra. Nitya upalabdhi anupalabdhi prasangaham anyataravi niyamo va anyata. Nitya upalabdhi anupalabdhi prasangaha anyatara niyamo va anyata. 32nd Sutra, 248th running Brahma Sutra. This is the conclusion of this Adhikaranam. It's a long Adhikaranam as we have seen. First, let us do the general analysis of this Sutra. So the basic question is asked here. What is that? You say Buddhi Samyoga is samsara or mental association is cause of samsara. That's what you are claiming. So until moksha, mind will survive death and even pralaya, that's what you say. Mind, there is no death. Till the person gets moksha, it is going to be there. Cycle after birth cycle, goes on going through all this, including pralaya, it survives. So the question is whether there is mind at all. Who told you there is a mind? This is to show the existence of the mind, the sutra is written. If the mind is not there, what are the consequences? Let us think of a situation when mind is not there. Let us assume the mind is not there. So during waking state, the sense organs are there. They are very much alive. They are exposed to sparsha, rasa, gandha, all those things, all these tastes and all, you see all of them. I am a conscious principle and consciousness is there. Suppose the mind is not there, what will happen? All these sense organs, they will enter through all this information. They will all enter through various sense organs and none will be there to stop. They will all continuously be coming again. I mean, over and over and over again. Even sleep will not be possible because you will be entertaining only new information through the sense organs. You cannot close other sense organs also. There will be permanent perception of everything all the time. What a confusion it will be. If the mind is accepted, what it will do? Mind is capable of switching on and off a particular sense organ. Mind can do that. When you listen to the class, for example, you can concentrate on one organ, keeping the other organs closed. You can be listening to the class. All other organs, you can keep it closed. You cannot do two jobs at the same time because mind has to function behind the sense organs. The mind controls all the sense organs. When two sense organs are wide open, mind is able to concentrate on that sense organ which you are interested in to make use of. If mind is not there, there will be permanent perception or permanent non-perception. If mind is accepted, you have a switch on, switch off mechanism. And if you don't accept the mind, when you see, for example, the TV, and also you are taking food, which a lot of people do, right? Then what happens? At the time of eating and seeing the TV, you accept the mind, you see the TV, but you do not much concentrate on the taste of the food. If you do not accept the mind, tongue will not taste. So two organs cannot function simultaneously. Again, the tasting power does not go away. We should be clear. Tasting power doesn't go away from you. And you cannot say the jiva loses consciousness either for a few minutes. No. The consciousness is there, sense organs, the faculty is there, and the mind acts as a switch on and off mechanism, making the job easier. So when it is in a state of doubt, mind is called manas. I mentioned this earlier. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha is the definition of Acharya. When you have in a vacillation, when there is a doubt, that is the status called mind. When it is in a state of determination, nischayatmika buddhi, when you are making a determination, the same faculty, the same antakaranam is called buddhi. We necessarily acknowledge the existence of such internal organ, antakaranam, namely mind, because otherwise it would result either in perpetual perception or perpetual non-perception. And there is Shruti support also for the existence of the mind. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in the first chapter, 5th section, 3rd mantra, Trinyatmane kuruteti mano vacham pranam तान् यात्मने कुरुत अन्यत्र मना अभूवं नादर्शम् अन्यत्र मना अभूवं नाश्रौषमिति मनसा ह्येव पश्यति मनसा शृणोति कामः संकल्पः विचिकित्सा श्रद्धा अश्रद्धा धृतिः अधृतिः ह्रीः धीः भीः इत्येतत् सर्वं मन एव तस्मादपि पृष्ठतः उपस्पृष्टो मनसा विजानाति. All of Upanishad is very categorical. My mind was elsewhere. I did not see my mind was elsewhere. I did not hear, for a person sees with his mind and hears with the mind. The scripture further shows that desire, representation, doubt, faith, want of faith, memory, forgetfulness, shame, humility, krihi is humility, we can say, reflection, for all these, they are all in the mind alone, in the absence of which such faculties cannot be experienced at all. Therefore, there exists an internal organ, the antakaranam, called mind, and the connection of the Atma with the internal organ causes the Atma to appear as the individual soul or as the soul in its samsara state. This is explained in the Sutra 29. Therefore, the explanation given in Sutra 29 is appropriate. That is the conclusion. Now, let us do the word analysis of this Sutra. Nitya upalabdhi anupalabdhi prasangaha anyatara niyamaha va anyatha is the Sutra. So, Nitya upalabdhi anupalabdhi prasangaha means there arises a possibility of Nitya upalabdhi, permanent perception, or Nitya anupalabdhi, permanent non-perception. That possibility arises, prasangaha. Anyatra niyamaha va, or temporary, if it's not a permanent perception, there is a temporary cessation. So temporary anyatra refers to that, temporary cessation or temporary cessation of the function of one of them. Now let us see the significance of that. That's what the Sutra says. Anyatha means otherwise. Manasaha abhave. If you do not accept the existence of the mind and its samyoga, Nitya upalabdhi anupalabdhi prasangaha. Prasangaha means it refers to the possibility of Nitya anupalabdhi means permanent. Upalabdhi means permanent perception. Since Atma and sense organs are always there, Jiva is ever conscious and sense organs are ever with faculties, the abilities. Or anupalabdhi, Nitya upalabdhi or Nitya anupalabdhi, permanent non-perception. That comes if you do not accept mind. Anyatara niyamaha. The word niyamaha here means what? The temporary cessation of the faculty, like hearing, seeing, all those powers, temporary cessation of them. So, Shakti Pradibandha niyamaha. Of Anyatara means one of the two. Anyatara means the one of the two. One is the Atma, another is the sense organs, one of the two. He will have to talk about the Shakti Pradibandha of Atma or Indriya, one of them. One of them had to go. So this cannot be done. There is only one way of explanation, that the mind is switching on and off. So many cameras function and there must be someone to connect the TV, the audience, what should be shown and all that. The mind does that job. So accept the mind. Without the mind, you cannot do that in everyone's individual experiences. So with this, the last sutra of this Adhikaranam is also over. Now let us make a very quick summary of this Adhikaranam. So we have completed the 13th Adhikaranam of this Pada, the third Pada of second chapter. Here Vyasacharya established the size of Jivatma as Vibhuhu. It is neither Anuparimana, as philosophers including Visishtadvaitins they claim, nor Madhyama Parimana, as claimed by the Jaina philosopher, and it is Vibhu Parimana, as claimed by the Sankhya and Tarkika philosophers. And Vibhu Parimanatvam is intrinsic nature of Jivatma, which has Vyavaharika Drishti. This incidental nature is because of Anatma Sambandha. Even though it is permanent, but this incident nature is because of Anatma Sambandha, Buddhi Sambandha. And Jiva is Vibhuho. And limitation is caused by Bhranti, Buddhi Samyoga alone. Even though Jiva is Vibhuhum, its limitation that is caused by the Paricheva, caused by the Bhranti, Buddhi Samyoga only. And Anatma Sambandha is Adhyasaha. We have already told. association with anatma is because of superposition of the attributes of anatma onto atma. It is called aupadika swabhavaha. Adhyasa we have already seen in Adhyasa Bhashya clearly. So otherwise it is called aupadika. Upadi means medium. Aupadika swabhavaha. You superimpose the attributes of the medium, the body, onto atma. And when we talk about Jivatma, we should know whether it is Paramarthika or Vyavaharika Drishti. When we talk about Jivatma, are we talking about Paramarthika Drishti or Vyavaharika Drishti? Upanishad normally mentions what it says is Paramarthika or Vyavaharika Drishti, it will normally say. And if it is not known, Vedanta will be most confusing test in the world. Upanishad has to say from what angle it talks about Atma. Sometimes the scripture says that Jivatma travels. And another place it says Jivatma is all pervading. Jivatma travels is the Upanishad still says somewhere. And some other place it says it is all pervading. I told what is all pervading. You know, there is no place where it is not there. Travel is the one. Travel is one where you go from a place where you are to a place where you are not. If it is all pervading, what can travel where? So seeming contradictions can be resolved only when we know satta bheda or drishti bheda. Incidental and intrinsic nature. Drishti bheda is incidental. Satta bheda is intrinsic of Jivatma, that should be known. We have seen three natures of Jivatma. That is Janma Rahitvam, Ajatvam, and Jnana Swarupam. Janma Rahitvam, it has no Janma at all. Ajatvam is not born. And Jnana Swarupam, actually in the nature of knowledge. And in the 13th Adhikaranam, Sarvagata Swarupam was talked about. We just talked about Sarvagata Swarupam and established Vibhuho. And we should know all three features are intrinsic from Paramarthika angle only. From Vyavaharika angle, all three Swarupams will be otherwise. Jivatma will have Janma, it is inferior medium, and it is a Manusha Janma is a superior Janma, but it is only an inferior medium. Similarly, from Paramarthika Drishti, Jnana Swarupam it is. And from Vyavaharika Drishti, it is Jnata, the knower, the knowerhood actually. That is only the incident that yesterday I mentioned that in passing. Jnanam is the intrinsic nature. Knowerhood is incidental nature. Similarly, the third one is Sarvagata Swarupam. All pervading Swarupam is my intrinsic nature. And from Vyavaharika Drishti, I am traveling. I am Alpagata Swarupaha, not Sarvagata Swarupaha. From Vyavaharika. So one must note this very carefully to understand Vedanta. Vedanta, Veda Purva Bhaga, it deals with all Vyavaharika features only. And Vedanta deals with all Paramarthika, from Paramarthika Drishti only everything. So Purva Bhaga, all the Karma Kanda, everything they are all talking from the Vyavaharika angle. So with this, the 13th Adhikaranam is also over. So all seeming contradictions thus far with respect to Jivatma is also resolved. So the second chapter happens to be Avirodha Adhyayaha. If you remember, we call the title of the second chapter as Avirodha Adhyayaha. And all these contradictions have to be resolved. And that is the aim of this chapter. Now let us enter into the next Adhikaranam. Next topic. Topic 14th Adhikaranam called Karthadhikaranam. Karthadhikaranam. So it talks about the individual Atma as an agent, a Kartha. And the first sutra in this Adhikaranam, the 33rd sutra of this Pada and 249th running Brahma Sutra, Karta Shastrarthavatvat. That is the sutra. Karta Shastrarthavatvat. Another characteristic of the individual Atma is being stated here. First, let us do the general introduction to this Adhikaranam. This is a fairly, I wouldn't say too big, but a fairly big Adhikaranam with 7 sutras, because we have got many single sutra Adhikaranams. Compared to them, this is fairly big. Here also Vyasacharya deals with another feature of Jivatma, that too this is an important feature. I hope I will be able to cover this. So in the next Adhikaranam also the same topic he will continue. And Vyasacharya analyzes whether Jivatma is Karta, Bhokta or not. It's an important question. That's why it's an important sutra. Whether Jivatma is a Karta, Bhokta or not. This is very important because the Sankhya philosophy has a peculiar interpretation on this. The peculiar approach they have to this topic. For Vyasacharya, the primary opponent while writing Brahma Sutra at that time is the Sankhya philosophy. I mentioned this earlier. Sankhya philosophy is close to Vedanta only, not only in context, but also with regard to certain words too. Many concepts are common also. Both Sankhya and Vedanta, they accept Veda Pramanam. Vyasacharya wants to differentiate the two in his Brahma Sutra actually. For the Sankhya philosopher, Jivatma is Akarta. He does not do any karma, but he is a Bhokta, the enjoyer. So, Anatma or Prakriti is Karta according to them. If you remember, Sankhya has got Purusha and Prakriti or Pradhanam. Pradhanam is the Prakriti, that is the Karta, and Purusha is the Bhokta, according to them. So, Purusha Rupa Atma is Bhokta, the enjoyer, and Prakriti Rupa Anatma is Karta, according to Sankhya. So, Purusha Rupa Jivatma Kevalam Bhokta Bhavati. Purusha Rupa Jivatma can be only an enjoyer. He has to be only enjoying all the time. Prakriti, it acts, it does all the karma, and Purusha, he reaps all the results, all the benefits he gets. If someone is a lazy person and does not do anything, but takes all credit, he is called a Sankhya Atma. Actually, in work and all, we see that guy doesn't do anything, he just while away the time, but got all the promotion. Right? So he is a Sankhya Atma. First, this particular concept we have to break in Vedanta. So according to our Shastra, Kartrutvam, the doership, and Bhoktrutvam, the enjoyership, are two sides of the same coin only according to Siddhanta. One who sows the seed only has to reap the crops. Otherwise, there will be confusion in society. One person will do all akramas. Akramas means all kinds of atrocities you would do. And somebody else will get arrested. There will be so much confusion and we will never have incentive to do anything at all. I do hard work, somebody gets the benefit. Why would I do any work at all? That will be the argument of most of the people. So this is a very important norm. That is why we do not blame anyone for our sufferings. For my past as Karta, I am the Bhokta at present. World and people are only conveyors to pass on my karma palam to me. They are only instruments. Through them, I enjoy or suffer for all the consequences, for all the karma palam. Punya papams come through parents, spouse, friend, so many other people. In short, what is the law? Kartrutvam and Bhoktrutvam should go together. And in this context, Sankhya is wrong. If you say both of them will be together, they will be present together or absent together. Both should mean. In the case of Jivatma also, they either should be present together or absent together. Karta and Kartrutvam and Bhoktrutvam. When we talk of Shastra, there is Drishti Dvayam, two kind of angles. And you should note whether it is a Vyavaharika Drishti or Paramarthika Drishti. From Vyavaharika Drishti, we have both Bhoktrutvam and Kartrutvam. And from Paramarthika Drishti, we negate both Kartrutvam and Bhoktrutvam. So from Vyavaharika Drishti, we agree with Bhoktrutvam, no problem. Who? We agree with whom? With Sankhya's. Here we agree. In Vyavaharika Drishti, Jivatma has Kartrutvam also, but Sankhya does not agree to that. So this Adhikaranam establishes the Kartrutvam of Jivatma from Vyavaharika angle. This is the general introduction to this Adhikaranam. Further, I also said in all this Adhikaranam of the third pada, we have three levels. What are the three levels of discussion? Purvapakshi, Ekadeshi, Siddhanti. So the Purvapakshi says, Shruti or Veda is contradicting. That's what Purvapakshi says. In one place, Jivatma is Karta, it says. At another place, it says is Bhokta. So there is contradiction and there is, so Shruti is a Pramanam. It is not Pramanam, that is the Purvapakshi's view. And he quotes also Shruti Vakyas for all that. In Mundaka Upanishad, in the first Mundaka, second chapter, first mantra says, Tadedat Satyam Mantreshu Karmani Kavayaha Yaha Anyaha Pashyam Stani Tretayam Bahuda Santatani Tan Yacharatha Nigatam Satyakama Esha Vaha Pantaha Sukritasya Loke. This is the truth that the Vaidika karma can give wonderful results. You can have happy life and may you perform also all the Vaidika karmas, it says. So here the Shruti means that Jivatma is a karta. It says you do all the Vaidika karmas, you will get fantastic results. So it assumes the Jivatma is karta. Therefore, from that mantra, we come to know that Veda looks upon Jivatma as karta, doer. But in Kathopanishad, in the first chapter, second section, 19th mantra says, Hanta chen manyate hantugum hataschet manyate hatam ubautauna vijanitaha anayagum hanti na hanyate. It says, Hanta chen manyate hantum hataschen manyate hatam ubautauna vijanitaha anayam hanti na hanyate. So if one thinks that I am the killer of something or doer of some action, that person is a confused person. Since that's what the Upanishad says. So Jivatma does not do any action at all. This Upanishad says. That means what? Jivatma is akarta. That means Veda itself is confused according to Purvapakshi. Therefore, Purvapakshi says, do not study Vedas. Then comes the Ekadeshi. And the Sankhya philosopher is the Ekadeshi here. And he says, Veda is not confusing. Wherever kartrutvam is occurring in Veda, it should be taken only figuratively. Yes. However, really speaking, Jivatma is akarta only, but wherever it says of kartrutvam, take it only figuratively. And then the Siddhanti says, Jivatma is not akarta, Jivatma is karta. But one should be careful about from what angle. It is from the Vyavaharika Drishti. Sankhya says, Jivatma is bhokta. Here we have to be a little careful understanding. In Vyavaharika Drishti, we say, Jivatma is karta. And Sankhya says Jivatma is Bhokta. That means it is clear that Sankhya also talks about only Vyavaharika Drishti, accepting the Bhoktrutvam of Jivatma. Therefore, Siddhanti says, when you are accepting Bhoktrutvam in the Vyavaharika angle, accept Kartrutvam also from Vyavaharika plane only. So now let us see the general analysis of this sutra. If Jivatma is not a Karta, then the entire Karma Kanda will become a waste. Because he is akarta. He cannot do the various rituals and all the ceremonies. And the very fact that Veda has a huge karma kanda portion that indicates Jivatma is karta only, doer. This is called Shrutyarthapati Pramanam. Shrutyarthapati Pramanam. Now let us, don't worry about the details, but I'm just giving you a name. Now we will do the word analysis. So karta shastrarthavatvat is the sutra. Karta means here the Jivatma is to be accepted as a karta or a doer or an agent. And shastrarthavatvat means because of the validity of Vedic injections, the injections of Shastras or commandments, Vedic commandments. Now let us see the significance of the words. The first word is karta. Karta in the sutra, the Jivatma is karta from what angle? Vyavaharika angle. Be careful. And the Sankhya says of Bhoktrutvam of Jivatma, we talk about Jivatma's Kartrutvam, karta. So Shastrarthavatvat, because of Pramanyam of Vedas or Vidivakyani. So Arthavatvam means Pramanyam. And any number of Vidivakyani can be taken to prove this. And one is we saw already in the first Mundaka, second mantra, second section, first mantra of Mundaka Upanishad that says, you perform the Vaidika karmas and all, it encourages you to do all that as a karta. So there are any number of Vidivakyas to establish that. Now let us go to the next sutra. Viharopadeshat, 34th sutra, 250th running Brahma Sutra. So an argument in support of this 33rd sutra is continued here. First let us do the general analysis. Jivatma is the biggest tourist, we can say. Jivatma is the biggest tourist. He tours within the body. He travels in Jagrata Avastha, in the physical body. In Swapnavastha, he travels in the mind. And Jivatma travels internally in waking, dream, and in sleep. During Swapnavastha, it travels through all the nadis. And during sleep, it goes back to Hridayam. Within one Janma itself, Jivatma travels from one place to another. After Maranam, Jivatma travels from one loka to another. So travel is a karma, and it is a movement, and it is a kriya. So since Jivatma is a kriya ashraya, he does the action. So Jivatma is Gamana kriya, Sanchara kriya, Vihara kriya, all these ashrayas. Ashrayas of all these kriyas, various actions. He moves all the time. He or she. Now we will go to the word analysis here. First, let us see the running meaning. So Viharopadeshat. This is known from the Vedic teaching of Jivatma's travels also. Now we will see the significance of the word. So Viharaha and Upadeshat. Viharopadeshat means Viharaha plus Upadeshat. And Upadeshat means the Vedic statement. Upadesha from the Vedic mantras. Viharaha means Sancharaha, travels here. So the Vedic statement deals with travel of Jivatma. And for reference, we have to go back to Sutra 18, where we gave a lot of Vedic quotations in support of this. And now let us go to the next Sutra, because this Sutra is, we have already seen the explanation for that in the previous Sutras. So we'll just move to the next Sutra. Upadana, this is another small Sutra. Upadana, another argument again in support of 33. Sutra 33 is given. We'll do the general analysis quickly. And Jivatma has to be accepted as Karta, since Veda talks about taking to varieties of instruments or accessories and various actions. So all instruments are useful only when you do action. And Karanam means the instrument is grasped by whom? By Karta only. Akarta need not grasp the Karanam. Instrument he doesn't have to take. The person who is non-doer. Only a doer has to have to take Karanam. And Karanam grasping also is of two types. In one Jinma itself, Jivatma takes the instruments in Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha and drops all the instruments in deep sleep. And the other one, the other type is from one birth to another birth. Jivatma carries the instruments. I told you all the Sukshma Shariram goes with him. So the Indriyas are not changed. And the same sense organs are carried on to another body. Body is dropped, physical body is dropped, another physical body is taken. All these are required and all are possible only if Jivatma is a Karta. Now let us do the word analysis. The running meaning, only one word, Upadhanat. Since Jivatma resorts to the instruments, it is a Karta. Now that's the meaning of that. Now let us see the significance of the word. The word Upadhanat, that is a grasping the instruments, Karana Upadhanat. So the conclusion is what? Jivatma is a Karta because it grasps the instruments. Only the doer only will grasp the instruments. So instruments are required by the user. That is the Karta alone. And actually there are various Shruti statements. The second chapter, first section, 17th mantra, Brihadaranyaka. Saho vacham ajada shatruhum yatresha etat supto bhut yayesha vijnanamaya purushaham tadesham prananam vijnanena vijnanamadaya yayeshontarkridaya akashaham tasmin chete tani yada grinnati ataha etat purushaha swapiti nama. He got the title swapiti nama. Tad grihita eva prano bhavatim grihita vag grihitam chakshur grihitagam shrotram grihitam manaha. All that thing we saw in detail. All the sense organs, talks about all the sense organs. All the sense organs are folded and dropped. And Jivatma resides in the Hridayam, in sleep. Jivatma takes all the 17 karanams, 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, pancha pranadeha, all the 5 pranas, Manas, Buddhi, all the 17 of Sukshma Shariram, because it wants to be a Karta. Otherwise, where is the need for all of them? It also takes the physical body and it indicates that it is a Karta. So body is the Ayatanam where the hectic activities, they all go on with the help of all these instruments. So Jivatma is a Karta. So all these things from the Vyavaharic angle. So we have to be careful in from what drishti something is interpreted in Vedanta. यो वेदादौ स्वर प्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य परस्य महेश्वरः पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ओम शांति 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 श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम श्री कृष्ण।